What's something about yourself that sounds false, but is 100% true? I had surgery 2 months ago to finally allow me to burp. 30 plus years of pain. All because a muscle was seized in my esophagus. No one believes how life-changing it is, or how painful it used to be. Listen to the latest reply all. My husband was in the military and we were stationed overseas. I made friends with female military dependent. Went to visit her family in Austria and figured out she was a spy for Russia. She still sends me Christmas letters. I already died once, yet I am still here. Jump scare while punking as a kid. Choked on my own puke. Got reanimated because luckily, Via was just down the road. Still spent a few hours in coma. Was a close call tbh. My dad was 72 and tried to come visit me in Amsterdam with 2 kilos of C in his backpack. Got caught of course when a security officer just looked at him, he blushed. Got 4 years jail in Costa Rica. I was dying when my pregnancy had to be terminated at 27 weeks gestation. My life was saved by a visiting consultant who recognized the symptoms as a very rare condition called HELLP syndrome. The only way to save my life was to get the baby out and have full blood and platelets transfusions. They had the air ambulance ready to take me to another hospital but they said that I would have died 10 minutes into the journey. So I was rushed into theater and had a C-section. My baby survived, weighing 2 pounds 1 ounce, 930 g, and is now 22 years old. I ended up with sepsis, ruptured liver and I was going into kidney failure. I was in a coma for 3 days and then saw my son at 3 days old for the first time. He made me fight to live. I'm so happy to read that you and your son made it. I married my high school sweetheart. Ended up not being able to finish my degree because he joined the military. Wiped out our savings account to adopt a baby because I couldn't get pregnant. He's medically retired and 100% disabled a couple of years later and deals with it by becoming a shopping addict and sinking us so far into debt we'll never get out and then comes out as gay. We can't afford to divorce and even though I am head over heels in love with someone else, I'm going to lose him because I don't have the financial assets to get out of the nightmare I'm in. Holy crap, I hope you find your way out of this mess. I was forcibly taken from my mother by my biological father before I was 1 year old and held for about 8 months until my mother negotiated my return in exchange for the brand new car they had purchased together before she left him and a silver plated tea set he thought was solid silver. Was wrongly arrested for the murder of an armed robber 10 years after the fact because my biological father is a founding member of HAMC. I was exonerated by the widow of the guy who actually killed the guy in self-defense while being robbed for his medical marijuana. The body disappeared and the cops could not find it, so I did my own investigation. As all people involved grew weed and did not want to talk to cops, and ended up finding the body with the help of the farmers whose property it was buried on. The guy who buried it was in prison for other charges, and after I got a complete exoneration letter from the cops he told me where it was for $14,000. When finding it I was stopped by a different police force and surrounded by cops, and the cops who originally arrested me for murder came and negotiated me out of it. Because so many forces were in, they still wanted me to go to prison and I had to threaten to go to the media with my video footage of the farmer digging it up that I kept and still have. I got 30 days discharged, no time other than 6 months from before exoneration, but lost my life savings and was homeless for 1 year at 44 with a 7-year-old autistic son. I now invented a way to process activated carbon and have got contracts with a lot of distilleries doing vodka and hand sanitizer. I paid off $250 last year to my debtors and am $140 away from solvency, and our bus is increasing rapidly. Now live back in my house my partners bought back for me after exoneration with my now 14-year-old autistic son. Holy crap, what a roller coaster of a story. Sucked my own dong once. Not gay, just did it to see if I could. You must teach us the ways. From 2 years old all the way to 8 years old I kept getting the same type of illness, an infection. I got it so frequently that my body sort of developed countermeasures. Even when the sickness comes back, I typically foretell it before 3 days, and my body no longer heats up as much, from 39°C to 37.5°C. I once had a warrant out for my arrest for missing court dates over a traffic ticket I never received. Getting that thrown out in court was a lot of fun. I once had something similar and did not get so lucky. Also, the weekend in jail sucked. The guy who drove his car into a crowd in Charlottesville went to work and school with me briefly and was obsessed with my older sister. I have a photo of him after he snuck into her prom photo and his mugshot. I've been struck by lightning. I've had 19 broken bones. I once got bit by a copperhead on the same day my house burned down. I've had a dislocated eyeball. I slammed off my thumb in the van hatch and had it sewn back on. I've been shot in both feet. I was gored by a billy goat once. I had cancer. During surgery I died on the table, was dead for 2 minutes and revived. If that is true, you have got to be super unlucky. My voice is raspier, deeper than the average girl voice, and no one believes me when I say I've never smoked a cigarette. My mom jokes that I messed up my vocal cords from crying a lot as a baby. That's why Emma Stone had her raspy voice, because she was colicky as a baby. It does permanent vocal cord damage. I used puddle water to shoot up some smack. Been sober since 2012. Made a frick ton of changes and I'm married, about to buy my first house. Feel that one. I used to use toilet water SMFH. I played a 2 hours long match in League of Legends. No one believes me, but I remember it clearly. Both teams were surprised it lasted that long, but no one wanted to surrender to see how it will turn out. 2 of my teammates left the game because we lost all our towers, but ended up coming back after some time. I was defending the base while the other 2 remaining teammates kept pushing. The enemies thought the game was already won, so they became reckless and kept dying. Lol. We won. That's why you can't surrender in Dota 2. I can't burp. I burped accidentally maybe 5 times in my life. Friends and family think that I'm lying to seem more delicate and girly. I almost got ran over. Got hit by a swing in motion. Fell out of a car when it started accelerating and did a lot of other stupid stuff, and yet I never broke a bone. I once had all the right numbers to get the equivalent of 50 million USD in my country's lottery after getting random numbers from around me with my grandma. A random bill, the grams of sugar in a can, etc. I decided not to play because of course, and was watching TV. Yeah, next morning my grandma's like, here, look at this pic. Yeah, all numbers. No one had it right but us. Still cringe. Whoa, that hurts. My knee injury happened in high school during a football game. Most people don't believe I played football because I don't act like a jock and I'm pretty scrawny. But the pictures in our main hall of me with the team is all the proof you need. I used to be on the track team but was recruited by the coach while I was running track. He asked if I knew how to catch a football, so I tried and I learned real quick. The injury happened during the 8th game of our school's season. We were down 4 points, which means we want at least a touchdown in order to get back ahead. I played WR. The play we were doing required me to go deep past the defense and cut across to the other side of the field, which I did, and I signaled the QB that I was ready to make the catch, but 2 big defenders saw what was going on and were already running towards me. As I made the catch, they pushed me out of bounds and right into a freaking bench they had right next to the field. This is one of those benches that have a bottom and a backrest with that little gap in between. For some reason I tried to jump over it, but these guys stayed on me, so as I tried go over it I slipped when these guys pushed me and my leg went through the gap while I went over and my leg inverted right at the knee. Normally they don't do major surgeries on people my age back then, but I needed major knee reconstruction surgery. To this day I still have a hard time getting around right. My dad trafficked me as a child. Went to prison for molesting a teenage boy when I was 8 years old, and no one ever found out. I make a significant portion of my own clothes. I don't actually think it's a big deal since it's a skill most women used to have, but people get really impressed when you tell them you made something. I think everybody should learn the basics of sewing though. How to use a machine, how to sew buttons and buttonholes by hand, and a few other hand stitches. Simple alterations like hemming or repairs like sewing a ripped seam. Nobody should be tossing clothes because of easily fixed problems. I swear to God, I invented the "what's brown and sticky" a stick joke. It was before the internet was a thing and I was hanging out with the other kids in my street, telling each other the riddles jokes we knew, like what do you call a fly with no wings? A walk followed by what do you call a fly with no wings or legs? A raisin. That sort of thing. I asked what's brown and sticky, planning to just answer with a turd poop crap or whatever was the funniest poop word at the time, but pretty much as I opened my mouth my brain decided a super deadpan stick would be better. Everybody found it hilarious and they all ran around telling everyone they could find. Not unlike that fish sticks episode of South Park. Years later people started telling it to me, and eventually some comedian said it on one of those comedy panel shows. If I tell anyone the story they just insist I must have heard it before and not realized. But someone is always the first to tell a joke, right? I guess it's my 15 minutes of fame, albeit anonymously. I'm just happy that so many people enjoy it. One of my last roommates loves that joke. It's her favorite dad joke and the one she always tells everyone if jokes come up. Thank you for inventing said joke. I believe you and me and my roommate appreciate it. I'll be sure to let her know I responded to the person who coined the joke. I was born in, went to elementary school, middle school, high school, lost my virginity, got married, had a child in, almost died in all different countries. Every event happened in a country that no other event happened in. This guy needs a thicker passport option. I shot a rich guy's yacht with a cannon. It was a small cannon. Blanks, no shot. I was working for a yacht club and fired it to start the race. Didn't realize it had accidentally loosened its mount and pointed downward. Wadding and debris from the shot damaged his boat a little. Hilarity ensued. Not really. I have 3 former friends on death row. 2 of them serial killers. Was one of the first people to develop cardiomyopathy in the US from the vaccine. It stumped the entire and every doctor there thought I was having a heart attack. I was catheterized nothing. Even the cardiologist had no idea what was going on at the time. All my tests said heart attack, but the catheterization found an absolutely healthy heart. Well, anyway $30k later they now know it was the vaccine. Won the dumb lottery I guess. I've been in 13 car accidents, had my foot run over by a forklift, had a car gas tank explode about 5 feet away from me, and lit myself on fire once, but never had a broken bone. 5 accidents could be someone else's fault but you're probably a terrible driver. That I play Dungeons and Dragons and I freaking love it, but everyone I tell that is very surprised and thinks I'm joking. Sometimes even other players. I assume it's because I'm a somewhat attractive, sociable girl, but D&D is for everyone equals. It really is. My old Pathfinder group had people from all walks of life in it. COVID I think has massively increased the appeal because everybody was stuck at home and took to Roll20. I used to think my uncle was rich because he had a big house. It turns out those trips to see him over the years was my family visiting him in prison. I got lost as a kid, cause after mom dropped me off to play school, I must have been 2.53 years old. I walked out of the gate and nobody noticed. I left kindergarten a number of times too. No one noticed. I stood in front of the school because I had to wait for older neighbors to take me home. I didn't know the way. I'm literally allergic to cold. I get hives all over my body in cold weather or especially if I go swimming in a non-heated pool. If I ignore it, I puke and black out. I think this might be called cold urticaria. I once severely sprained an ankle playing football. Is that how you spell it? Table soccer. Anyways, heels and competitive sholishness is a bad matchup, guys. Down votes for that. Okay, cool. I am not sure, I might be wrong, but it is possibly spelt with a sharp S rather than S. I spent the night in the Atlanta airport by myself, from 9 PM to 10 AM. It was nice and the international side was wicked cool. I have an injury in my left thigh which I got while chilling on the couch with a book. I adjusted my sitting position slightly and kicked my legs up on the table, and that's when it happened. It didn't really hurt, but it still gives me trouble sometimes. This was almost 10 years ago. I've rode elephants, camels, water buffalo, horses, mule, ponies, and reindeers before I was even a teenager. Also a dairy cow tried to kidnap me when I was 6. I became homeless after I got out of the army, So I decided to walk across America, alone and unsupported. I spent the next 3 years traveling from Tennessee to Delaware, to California, to Florida, to Alaska, back to Florida, and back to California again. Although I was raising money for charities, none of it went to me. I worked odd jobs as needed, though I rarely needed money except to buy new gear or the occasional motel room. For food, I did a lot of hunting, trapping, fishing, foraging, and even did some dumpster diving while passing through towns. I was later diagnosed with cancer and decided to write a book about my experiences. My book is now published under the title, Walking America, a 10,000-mile journey of self-healing. I broke my lower back. I stood up, walked to my car, which was a 5-speed manual, and drive 35 minutes to the nearest hospital. Called my mom on the way because I was a minor, and told her I broke my back. She of course didn't believe me but met me at the hospital anyway. Turns out I was partially right. I fractured my back. A year later I was in trade school and got hooked on hard drugs, which is weird because I did them before I smoked weed. Met my fiancée because my brother matched with her on Tinder. Got clean from drugs because when I saw her I just knew she was the one for me. Got kicked from trade school because of COVID. Moved in with said fiancée. Weren't dating at this point. Became friends with benefits with fiancée. Started dating her. And now I have a beautiful baby girl. This is just the last few years of life. If I start from the beginning it's dark for a good while. I've been friends with several millionaires. My grandpa was a millionaire. However, I worked 2 jobs and still broke af. LOL. Some dude got my location and came to my house after threatening to on Xbox. I basically just did the same thing and gave an anonymous tip that the address had illegal crap in it. When I was a kid my dad started a fire in the school library, then shot my teacher in the leg, and then my teacher killed my dad, who was a bad man. This is the entire plot of Kindergarten Cop. AR-15 stands for Armalite Rifle Model Number 15. Armalite is the manufacturer. It does not stand for assault or automatic. Okay, so I've always looked like a nerd and a really calm kid and stuff. Not for long though. I am working on it. So when I tell people some stuff that I did as a kid they don't believe me. One of them is that when I was like 4 I think I had a crush on this girl, and just so I could hug her I invented a fake test of strength. Let me elaborate. During playtime I made an announcement which technically said, I am the strongest guy in the school. To prove myself I would lift up all the girls that want to see how strong I am. I know, smart kid. So they accepted. I had a crap lot of girls standing in line so I could lift them up. IDK how, but I actually managed to lift them all up, and at some point it was my crush's turn. Gave her a special lift. I spinned around with her in my arms, and I was so happy because she was my first love. But eventually life came back at me, and pretty fast, because behind her was the, and I don't bother shame, heaviest girl in our grade. I gave her what she came for but felt a little tired afterwards. So that one of the crazy things I did a kid, as a young genius. I play poker for a living and do very well. Parents think I'm full of crap even though I live in a $500 K home and have not sent. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.